The next thing we're going to do is take those wheels off. Sometimes you might have to hit it to break it off the wheel hub. There we go. Next thing you'll want to do after you have the wheels off is go ahead and take your transmission fluid drain plug out and drain all the fluid. Just come right out. Oh, didn't mean to drop it, but there you go. That's your tranny fluid drain now. And Honda takes 10W30. As you can see, it's not like really thick gear oil. Alright, the next thing you'll want to do here once you've got your wheels off is take your axle nut off. On a Prelude it will be a 36mm nut, and if you're working on a Civic or something, it's a lot of times a 34mm. So it just comes off right like that. Also, another thing is when you're going to take this axle nut off, if you already had the car lifted and you're struggling with that, it's a good idea to go ahead and put the tire back on, lower the car down, and leave the center cap off. And you can use a breaker bar or something with the 36mm socket to take the axle nut off, and that'll be a lot easier than trying to take it off while the car is already lifted in the air. Alright, once you've done this, your next step will be to remove the cotter key or cotter pin. Like so. Kind of grab the other side and wedge the pin out. Just like that. Alright, the next thing you're going to do is remove the ball joint nut. And if you don't have an impact gun, you might want to jack up this spot right here if the ball joint starts to try and spin on you, because what will happen is you'll feel like you broke it loose, but the nut will still be stuck to the ball joint stud, and it'll just spin on you. So if that starts to happen, what you do is you just jack up, like I said, on this knuckle, and hopefully that'll give you enough weight on the ball joint to keep the stud from spinning. Easiest way definitely is to use the impact, which is the way I'm going to do it. Next thing you're going to want to do is break this ball joint loose from the knuckle. So I'm going to try it first with the hammer. If not, you can use this special ball joint remover tool, which will most likely be the case, but if I'm lucky enough, I'll just be able to break it loose with the hammer. So let's see what happens. Nope, didn't work. Well, I'm gonna have to resort to this right here. Alright, now this guy right here is pretty helpful. I got it at Harbor Freight for 20 bucks. What it is it's a ball joint separator. The idea is to get the bottom ball joint stud right on here and just kind of slide this up over the bottom end of the knuckle, and then you're gonna tighten down on this, and the idea is that it just kind of pushes like so and pops the ball joint out. Then I'm just gonna tighten them up right there. Then I'm gonna take my 19mm socket and impact wrench. You can do it with the regular ratchet and socket also, it doesn't matter. This just makes it faster. Oh, I forgot to turn my air on. Alright, now let's see what she does. She pop out. And it's that easy, guys. And next thing I want to do is remove this tie rod end nut. It's basically the same concept as the ball joint nut. So I'll find my little cotter pin. Once he's off, This one should come right off with the hammer. Come on, man. There we go. That's what I wanted the ball joint to do, but oh well. Now just lift it right up out of that ball joint, and there you go. You've got your knuckle off. And then next step is going to be to remove the axle and get it out of the way of the transmission so it can just drop right down. Alright, now the next fun step is to get, there's 1 and 2 up there on the back side, bolts that mount the axle. There's not one on the other side, and for the other side you'll just do the same steps I just showed you earlier for the left side. But on this side you have to take out, it's 3 14mm bolts, and then this will just kind of drop down. And for the axle to come out of the transmission, you just take like a big screwdriver or a pry bar and pry out on it, and it will pop right out. I'm just gonna break them all loose and then zip them out. Alright, it'd be really hard for me to get a good camera angle on this to set it up, so see what I'm pointing at, that bar right there, that's your axle. Just get something around it to pry on it and it'll pop right out. Here on the other side I've already done this one. This one's a lot easier because you have a lot bigger thing to pry on. That big round piece right there. You just stick a big screwdriver behind there and pry off and it'll pop right out. Alright guys, next thing is this cross member right here I'm about to show y'all. You do not have to take it off. I'm pretty sure I've done it without it before, but for the sake of showing you guys, it's going to be really hard for me to show you some of the bolts if I don't take this cross member off. So I'm just going to do it, and if you want to, it actually does make it a lot easier with it off, but if you're just trying to beat the time or do it really quick, you can do it with it still on the car, but I'm going to take it off. So I believe either 17 or 14mm bolts. It's going to be 3 on this side and 3 on the back side. I'm going to take those off real quick. Alright, and I'm just showing you here the cross member out so you have an idea of where the bolts on the back were. There's 1, 2, 3 right there. And on the back side, it'll come around a little bar because you can see a little divot. And there'll be 1, 2 on the front side and 1 towards the back of the car. Alright, the next thing you guys are going to need to do is remove this bar right here. It's going to get in your way when you're trying to pull the transmission out, so there's 2 bolts right there, and up in the front you'll have to get up under the plastic shield and take some bolts out under there to get to it, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Alright guys, next thing we gotta do is just lower this little plastic shield thing so we can get to the bolt that goes in. Let's take that bar over there out. Now once you've got your dust shield removed, you're ready to take on this bolt right here that you have to take out, and that'll be a 17mm. Alright. Oh, got it loose. Next, I'll just be taking these 2 bolts out. Alright, and to get to the other one, you'll have to play with your axle. Move it around in a position to where you may reach. I moved my axle in such a way to that it looks like that for the other bolt. Now, once you've pulled that piece out, you may have noticed a bunch of pieces falling out. Don't worry about that. I got you the order right here, how they go back on. Alright, now we're almost ready to start taking out transmission mounting bolts, but see this little dust shield? You're just going to take that and put one little bolt up here, just so you can get it out of the way so you're not tripping over it and stumbling over it when you're wrestling with the transmission to get it out. Alright, now the first thing I'm going to start with underneath, as far as taking stuff out, is this little bracket right here. I'm going to take those two bolts out, and then I'm going to take the 3 flywheel cover bolts out. The 2 bolts right there, 14mm, and these 3 little ones, like that one right there, are 10mm. And you'll need to take that bracket out to see the 3rd one. Now, once you got those out, you should be able to see the flywheel right there. And the next bolts you'll be taking out, oh, this gets harder and harder, will be these ones right here. Oh, crap. Alright, the first one, that one right there, that one right there, that one right there, and that other big one right up there. And you also have to take out, I can't use my finger, but that one right there, I'm kind of pointing at it. And then there's another one that'll look just like that, right up there. Take that one out too. Once you get all those out, that is everything for this side. And before I say it, yep, that's all the bottom bolts. Once you get those out, the ones I just pointed out, that's all the bottom bolts you'll have to take out. And I'm not going to be able to film this because I can't hold it, and I just don't really have 5 hands to do it. So I'll show you what it looks like when I take it out though. Hey guys, I just got done taking those bolts out, and I just laid them out so you could kind of envision where they were coming out from, and so you'll know how to put them back in. This is the first bolt that went in the bottom of that black bracket. It'll be the smallest one to go back in. Then your 3 medium-sized ones also go in the black bracket. These are the 2 that went kind of midway in the bracket, and then this was the top one. And then also bolting up to like your engine housing were these 2 right here, and they'll be a little bit longer, as you can see. But those are the 2 that went from your engine to your transmission, and it's almost hard to see this one, so make sure you have 6 bolts total for the bottom, plus that other little bracket and the flywheel cover bolts as well. So you should have a total of 6, 3, 9, 11. You'll have a total of 11 bolts